Pro wrestling history is littered with cheap knockoffs. For every Rick Rude, there's a Val Venus. Can't afford Gangrel? Just go out and buy Kevin Thorne instead. Although actually, being called Adam at What Culture, I should probably just get to the list, hey? These are 10 rip-off wrestling gimmicks that messed up what they copied. Number 10, Woken Matt Hardy. Broken Matt Hardy was fantastic for a number of reasons, not least Hardy's commitment to the wackiness of it all, but it was the unspoken words that spoke the loudest. Broken Matt Hardy didn't need to explain every reference to you, the viewer. Woken Matt Hardy fell into the same trap that all WWE characters tend to, an obsession with wink wink nudge nudge and a total sodding inability to leave some things left unsaid. Number 9, Pirate Paul Burchill. Brits in WWE may be all the rage these days, but that wasn't the case back in 2005. Burchill was something of a novelty, a curiosity accentuated by a then unique finishing move. Of course, he was immediately placed with countryman Regal, or Brits are friends after all, before turning babyface in a backstage segment and informing the world about his pirate ancestry. 1 week later, Burchill was swinging to the ring on a rope and dialing up the twee like an impressively athletic Jack Sparrow. The gimmick didn't last long before it was jettisoned and he was trying to shag his sister or something, supposedly because Vince McMahon couldn't get his head around the idea of a babyface pirate. WWE has a wretched track record when it comes to lifting from popular culture, primarily because it only sees the surface and not the intricate layers. Pirate Paul Burchill could have worked if WWE had approached him like some sort of swashbuckling onion, but fans were instead treated to, he's a pirate! Get it, he's a pirate! Over and over and over again. Besides, people really need to start reading about how terrifying pirates actually were. Number 8, RETRIBUTION! Mustafa Ali is a fantastic professional wrestler, one of the most underrated performers in the industry today. Dominik Dijakovic is a freak of a big man, an athletic monster who can do things that nobody his size has any right to do. Shane Thorne is also wildly underrated, one of the best tag team guys of a generation, and just about as reliable as it gets. And Mia Yim has all the tools to become a major star in women's wrestling. Dio Madden's very big. The individuals that make up, apologies headphone users, RETRIBUTION, all have plenty to give, but the DOA faction they are stuck in is going to follow them for a very long time. The group known as Retribution started appearing in WWE over the summer and were ridiculed from the start, although it is difficult to see how anyone believed that a group of hoodie-clad chumps cackling and destroying the show were going to get any other sort of reaction. The whole thing just screamed Vince McMahon saw Antifa on the telly and brought his version into his own universe, and the results were about as positive as that suggests. It started as bollocks to fascism and has eventually mutated into Shane Thorne wrestles with a paper plate on his face. Number 7, RYBACK. RYBACK was a lot of fun, but was he Goldberg? Lord no. WWE tried to recreate the Goldberg phenomenon in 2012 as a bald dude smashed his way through increasingly undersized jobbers, missing the point with every passing week. Goldberg didn't get over because the plan was to have him win loads of matches. Quite the opposite. That became the plan once this wrecking ball got over organically. You can't recreate that magic, and you certainly can't do it by beating Rutherford Hayes and Willard Fillmore. Number 6, ASYA. WCW being WCW, it decided that it needed its own version of China. Only better, bigger, blonder. Enter ASYA. The whole thing was an immediate success, except, it wasn't, because ASYA was abysmal in the ring and the plagiarism was clear for all to see. The whole mess wasn't helped by constant reminders that, ASYA is bigger than China, a fact that was supposed to impress fans. Don't miss the point though, ASYA was a failure because she had none of the attributes that China possessed, outside of having the physical stuff. She just didn't know how to use any of it. Say what you like about China, but she could deliver a pretty mean DDT when needed. ASYA's finishing move was a bloody leg scissors. Number 5. WAYLON Mercy. It doesn't get the same sort of love that other Robert De Niro movies do, but sleep on Cape Fear at your peril. De Niro plays Max Cady, a violent criminal out for revenge on the defense lawyer that he believed was incompetent, and the whole thing unravels in a cascade of sinister anger and psychological terror. It is a seriously good film, albeit a slightly terrifying one, with De Niro shining as the unhinged and vengeful Cady. Often seen by some as some sort of ideological ancestor of Bray Wyatt, WAYLON Mercy was a mid-90s WWF gimmick that was based on De Niro's star turn, albeit minus the nuance and restraint needed for such a sinister figure to jump out the screen. It didn't help that the gimmick struggled to translate to anything meaningful in the ring either. Wrestling history is littered with characters that were gentlemen to begin with, only to turn violent once the bell rang, and they have rarely worked well. Mercy's attempts to bring Max Cady into the WWE failed because it was too focused on the surface level characteristics of the gimmick. Bray Wyatt would have much more success by making the gimmick altogether more professional wrestling, eschewing the grey areas in favour of giving Jake Roberts style promos and, well, having a big beard. Number 4. The artist formerly known as Prince IAUKEA. Prince IAUKEA was just about as anonymous as WCW stars got. He wasn't a prince, he had nothing to do with Curtis IAUKEA, he was just a dude in tights who happened to be trained by Dean Malenko, a forgettable presence who made his debut delivering papers to the future NWO Sting on behalf of Sergeant Craig Pittman. After winning and losing the WCW Television Championship, IAUKEA fell off the face of the earth shortly after, occasionally resurfacing to lose to illustrious opponents like Norman Smiley, Horace and bloody Vincent, before everything changed once again. IAUKEA was repackaged as the artist formerly known as Prince IAUKEA, a not so subtle take on the decision made by actual charismatic Prince to move forward as the artist formerly known as Prince. They both wore purple, they both had Prince in their name, surely that was all the similarities required for this to be a raging success. Alas, surprise surprise, it didn't work. Actually, scratch that. It was a total failure. The main problem was IAUKEA's absolute lack of charisma. And there are a few things more depressing in wrestling than watching a wet flannel try to act like actual Prince. Less than a year later, he was gone. Number 3. Joker Sting. The Stinger has been quoted as saying that he never had more fun than when he was playing this version of his iconic character, and it's clear to see that he was putting everything into the role. It was dumb, but it was vaguely entertaining. That doesn't change the fact, though, that ripping off the Joker may well be the most overdone thing in all of entertainment today. Is there anything more eye-rolling than another character playing crazy by laughing a lot and just sort of having vacant eyes? It was really quite sad, a still beloved star of yesteryear trying to tap into something a little more modern, albeit something that was already 3 years old, itself a resurrection of a character first created in 1940. Heath Ledger's Joker worked because of its fictional borders, its commitment to the nihilistic violence and its villainous core, no matter how beloved the character has become in the world of social media and cynicism. Joker Sting was, well, it was just a slightly older Sting with worse face paint, let's be honest here. Number 2. Aces and Eights. A back-to-back winner of the Wrestling Observer Newsletter Worst Gimmick Award, Aces and Eights was indicative of everything TNA got wrong in the post-Monday Night Wars 2.0 era, as a roster full of tremendous talent was left to twiddle its thumbs. Dixie Carter and her Chargers looked to the past, to ideas that once worked and the stars that once made money. If anything was going to turn the Impact ship around, a bloated heel stable was almost certainly it. But Aces and Eights wasn't exactly an NWO rip-off. The dastardly villains were a faux biker gang, an outlaw group of motorcycle enthusiasts, sort of loosely based or entirely ripped off from Sons of Anarchy. It didn't work, and it dragged TNA further into the mire as a result. The list of reasons why Aces and Eights didn't work goes on and on and on and on. Fans had been watching the Dudleys for years. How are they going to believe that all of a sudden they are leading a biker gang? What about Ken Anderson, D'Lo Brown, Taz? At a push, fans could accept young talent like Bischoff and Briscoe getting involved, desperate as they were to get a rub from legendary names, but even that required a mighty pinch of salt. Throw in a few classic TNA shocks for the sake of shocks, and you've got yourself an all-time shambolic stable. And number 1, the Renegade. There's a reason that all pro wrestling fancy dress parties feature at least one Ultimate Warrior. The aesthetics are very easy to mimic, from the colourful face paint to the the tassels to the non-more 80s hair. Simply add maniacal energy in a bottle or two of Buckfast and you're onto a winner. Easy to mimic, but nigh on impossible to replicate, that's for sure. But WCW was sure as hell gonna try. When Hulk Hogan was faced with another existential threat in the form of Vader, he promised WCW fans the ultimate surprise, showing a suspiciously Ultimate Warrior looking silhouette in the process. Hogan didn't let fans down with his claim, as his surprise turned out to be none other than a man masquerading as the Ultimate Warrior with similar hair and mannerisms, but approximately 1/50th of the charisma. It was a shambles from the get-go. Another pathetic low blow in the battle between WCW and the WWF. This was the Renegade, and boy, history does not smile upon his memory. It gets worse. Hulk Hogan referred to the Renegade as the man that's going to bring Hulkamania into the 21st century. His character was dumped before 1996 was over. And that's our list. Did we miss any out? Let us know in the comment section below, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And subscribe to What Culture Wrestling on either iTunes, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts from for daily wrestling podcasts. Plus, you can let us know your thoughts on Twitter at WhatCultureWWE, where you can also find me at Adam Wilborn. Thanks for watching. I've been Adam from What Culture, and I'll see you soon.